One, two, one, two, one, two. Sound check, test one, two. Mic check, one, two, one, two. Sound check, one, two, one, two. Mic check, one, two, one, two. We're good in one spot. We are good. Make sure this is good. Yeah, we're good over here. Let's go live over here. Good morning, as y'all. Great day. We are good over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that 8? Make sure my math is right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Why am I counting 8? YouTube is 1, Rumble is 2, X is 3, LinkedIn is 4, Facebook is 5. I'll count LinkedIn twice. All right, here we go. Instagram, good morning. TikTok, good morning. Let's get into it. Y'all know what the topic is. Y'all see it already. Today we're going to talk about the MAGA/Trump red pill, and I'll explain where this is coming from. Erland checking in from Sweden. Shout out to Sweden. So we are officially international as y'all are checking in. So what I want to talk about is the MAGA/Trump red pill, what exactly this means, and how people are dealing with this red pill. Because some people are happy to receive or to ingest the red pill, and some people are not so happy. Some of you have already ingested it a while ago for different reasons, but we're going to get into that here today. And I want to make sure we don't go too long here. So I'm going to go about 45 minutes of content. Then I'm going to take comments. If you have a question or comment or anything that I say, go ahead and post it in the comments while I'm talking, and we'll address it. I'll address those at the end. So first of all, where does this whole concept of the red pill come from? I mean, it comes from this movie called The Matrix. If those of y'all remember The Matrix, I don't remember when that came out, but it came probably before 2000. When did The Matrix come out? It might have been the late 90s. But anyway, this movie, The Matrix, 1999. So I'm reading this straight out of ChatGPT. I just asked it, what is the red pill? So I'm going to explain what the red pill is. Then I'm going to introduce myself real quick. Then we're going to get into the topic. Yeah, so it's 1999. And it says, this is what ChatGPT says. The protagonist, Neo, is offered a choice between a red pill and a blue pill. The red pill represents embracing harsh truths and reality, while the blue pill symbolizes remaining in your comfortable ignorance. So in modern contexts, the red pill has taken on various meanings, often depending on the community that is using it. And they give a couple of examples here. I'm not going to read all these. They give you several of them. But in general use, it symbolizes awakening to a truth or reality that challenges your previously held beliefs or societal norms, which is a great definition because it frames exactly what I'm going to talk about here. It also gives the political context. It says in some circles, a red pill refers to adopting a conservative or libertarian viewpoint after rejecting mainstream progressive ideologies. It is often associated with circumstances of political correctness, social justice, and government overreach. And then they have several other descriptions that they give here that I'm not going to read. You can go in ChatGPT and read it on your own if you wish. But let me introduce myself. I'm going to get into what the red pill means, specifically when it comes to Donald Trump and the Make America Great Again idea, belief, people, whatever it is you believe it is. We're going to talk about that here today. So those who don't know me and those who do, let me introduce myself. My name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day, former 9-year pro athlete, author of 35 books, done 4 TEDx talks, created a brand called Work on Your Game. We help entrepreneurs, we help sales teams, we help business leaders, we help professionals, we help the ambitious perform at their highest level, do so consistently, and produce more results. Our program, you can find out more about that at the links in my bio, Work on Your Game University, and more. So getting into this topic here today, again, the MAGA red pill. First thing you need to understand, I talked about this a little bit last week when I did a live where the subject, I don't remember what the title was, but it was about cognitive dissonance and how a lot of people who are anti-Trump, anti-MAGA, maybe just heavily left liberal and didn't have anything to do with Trump. Almost always has something to do with him because people just have strong opinions about the guy. And I talked about the cognitive dissonance that a lot of people experienced when Trump won the election. And the first thing you need to understand is the key traits of a critical thinker. And the key traits of a critical thinker, number one, is that they question everything. They accept nothing on the surface. It's number one trait of a critical thinker, that anything that is presented to them, they question it and they examine it and they find out, is this really real? Is this really true? Can I be sure that I can trust the information that's been given to me? And a critical thinker is the type of person who, since they don't accept anything on the surface, they often get labeled in negative ways by other people who do accept things on the surface. So a critical thinker could be labeled something like a contrarian. They're a person who always is, quote unquote, trying to be different. Person who always is some people call it the eyeball, like the one person who kind of stands out amongst everybody else, that when everyone else is agreeing with a certain thing or things, the critical thinker is the one who says, well, are we sure that this is true? Are we sure we're going to go along with this? And critical thinker is the type of person that if your mother calls you on the phone and tells you that she loves you, you go get a second opinion. All right. That's it. It's a tongue-in-cheek saying, but that's an example of what a critical thinker does. They question everything. They examine everything. They get a second opinion on everything. And they don't even trust their own hunches and their own beliefs, and they go double check. So a good journalist makes for a good critical thinker. A good investigative journalist makes for a good critical thinker. Someone who likes to get to the bottom of things and find out what's really going on. They have a strong sense of what we call discernment. Discernment is your ability to look at a situation, a person, place, or thing, and find out or question what's really going on as opposed to what's being shown to you on the surface. And I hope that many of you over the last 10 years, let's say, of just living, especially in the United States, but this could be anywhere in the world, that many of you have had your eyes opened to understand that what is being presented to you is often not the actual truth of what's going on. There's a presentation and then there's the reality. And to find out, and we don't even call it the reality, let's call it the truth, because reality is highly subjective. And critical thinkers are always considering this. They're considering every angle and every permutation of what's being shown to them, because they know that sometimes they're being told things that simply are not the case. It's just how it is. When I was in college, for example, after my sophomore year, I stayed on campus to take classes in the summertime. And my coach, the guy who had recruited me, he had gotten removed from the coaching spot. He knew he wasn't going to be the coach anymore. And they were opening up the coaching program to find a new coach. So he didn't technically get fired because they said, we're just opening it up, because he had been a part-time coach and they were making it a full-time job. So that was their way of kind of somewhat pushing him out, similar to kind of what they did to Joe Biden. And they said, you can still apply for the job. And he did apply for the job, but he had to go through interviews and all that as if he didn't already have the coaching job. And they had it wide open to pick a new guy. And they ended up picking a new guy. And I remember in that summer, I was on campus taking classes and stuff, and I saw the athletic director. And the athletic director was this older white woman. And she and the coach didn't really like each other. He told us that. The coach told us that he didn't really like her and she didn't like him. So he knew he wasn't going to get the job because she was the one in charge. And when I saw her in the summer, I was in the gym working out, and I was asking her, how's the coaching search going? And she said, well, we've had all these applications. We got like 300 different applications for the coaching job, and we haven't decided who was going to be yet. Hey, it might still be the previous coach, because she knew that guy had recruited me. So she was like, well, hey, Dre, we might end up picking the guy you already got, but we got to see. We got to go through the process. She gave me a whole bunch of PC, like bureaucratic talk. And she was an athletic director with a lot of experience. So she knew how to talk to somebody like me and just kind of talk over me. Good morning. I see you over there, Brittany. Shout out to Brittany. She's moderating in our chat here today. So we got our first moderator on TikTok in our comments. So shout out to Brittany moderating. So don't y'all be talking crazy in my comments over on TikTok. So anyway, after that, I saw my assistant coach, because the assistant coach, he lived in the town that I was playing in college at. And I was at this recreational league game, and I saw the assistant coach, and he was going to be out of a job too, because he was part of the previous staff. And I told him what the athletic director had said to me. And he said, he got kind of annoyed. He was like, that's some bullshit, Dre. We know it's not going to be the coach that you already got. She knows that it's not going to be him, but she just said that to you because you don't know what we know. She knows it's not going to be him. Point being, she was presenting me something as a possibility when it really was some bullshit. And it turns out they did not hire that coach back. They hired a different guy. And I just wasn't enough of a critical thinker at that time at 19, 20 years old to understand what was really going on as opposed to what was being presented to me. And I'm saying all that to say to all of you, I'm just giving an example of basketball and some politics happening in a basketball department at a college. We're talking about your real life here when it comes to what's happening in the country, because although I am a strong advocate that you should not put too much of your emotional buy-in to what a politician does or says or promises or doesn't do, at the same time, we all have an opinion on this, and it is in some ways shaping the way people operate. Whether something that the president does or the government does directly affects you or not, the fact that it's happening and that we're all talking about it, it can alter the way that we think, it alters the way that we talk, and it alters the way that things operate. Again, even if it's just because people are going off their feelings, and a lot of human beings go off their feelings. So critical thinkers, on the other hand, the reason I'm bringing this up first, critical thinkers do not get driven by their feelings. They don't get driven by their emotions. It's not that they don't have them. It's just that they understand them, they recognize them, they appreciate them, but then they have to think on a logical level. And this requires challenging things, being critical of things that are presented to you. This is very important. That's why I'm emphasizing this point. So let me move on to my next point. The hardest part of critical thinking is not challenging the things that other people say. See, when I told you that little story about the athletic director of my college saying that, hey, we might rehire your current coach to be the coach again, and she was lying to me right to my face, but she got away with it because I didn't know what I didn't know. See, that's not the hardest part of critical thinking, challenging other people's stuff. See, any of you listening to me right now, if I say something positive about Donald Trump and you hate Donald Trump, you can challenge me on that because you don't like Donald Trump. And if I say something positive about a Democrat and you hate the Democrats, you can challenge me on that because you don't like the Democrats. That's easy. The hardest part of critical thinking, ladies and gentlemen, is challenging yourself and questioning your beliefs. See, that's the part of critical thinking. That's what the red pill is really about. See, the red pill is not about you taking the stuff that everybody else told you and saying, oh, well, my teacher told me some nonsense, or my parents taught me something that wasn't true, or my coworker told me something that ended up being a lie. See, that's relatively easy when it comes to the red pill. The hardest part of the red pill, ladies and gentlemen, is accepting that things that you have come to accept, the things that you believe aren't true. And because see, it's one thing if I say it to you, it's another thing if you take it and you accept it and you say, okay, now I'm accepting this as part of my set of beliefs, my set of knowledge and information, whatever you want to call that, and then coming to understand, oh, the things that I thought were true are actually not true. Maybe I'm not that smart. Maybe what I believe isn't actually true. That's the hardest part of critical thinking, is accepting your own ignorance. Ignorance simply means not to know something. That's all ignorance means. Ignorance doesn't mean you're a bad person. Ignorance means you just don't know things. So when it comes to something like tennis or swimming, I'm ignorant because I know what tennis is supposed to do, but I couldn't explain the game to somebody. I couldn't really explain the nuances of swimming at a high level to another person. I'm ignorant on the subject. It doesn't make me a bad person. It just means I don't know things. And ignorance is okay when we're willing to accept our ignorance. The biggest problems happen in life when someone is ignorant of a subject, but they're unwilling to accept that they're ignorant. So they purport, or they put themselves out there, or they take action or move forward as if they're not ignorant. And that's where accidents happen. All right, that's where we get problems. When people don't want to accept their own ignorance and they just assume that everything that they believe or everything that they quote unquote know just has to be the reality. And it turns out that is not. That's when we get problems, accidents, death, destruction, et cetera, et cetera. So let me tell you who is most in danger when it comes to this whole concept of not accepting your own ignorance and not being a critical thinker, specifically when it comes to this topic that we're talking about here today, which is the Trump/MAGA red pill that a lot of people have been forced to take over the last, it's been exactly 2 weeks, right? Exactly 2 weeks since the last election, since this year's election. I guess not maybe 2 weeks, because the voting just started this time 2 weeks ago. It's the people who consider themselves to be quote unquote educated. Now, we got any educated people in the room? And when I say educated, I mean the quote unquote educated. I don't mean you went to school or you got a degree. I mean people who consider themselves educated, and you even hold up your education as a badge of honor. Now, I have a college degree. I do consider myself intelligent, but I never walk around calling myself educated. So I don't mean just because you have a degree, you're educated. I mean people who, the educated who use it as or you use uneducated as a pejorative against other people when they don't have the same information, ideas, beliefs, perspectives as you. That's what I mean when I say the educated. So these people are usually, let me tell you usually where you find these people. Usually find them working at some college campus, often liberal college campuses, not the more conservative ones. There are much more liberal college campuses, people working in safe spaces, people often working sometimes in corporate settings, Not all corporate settings. There are a lot of corporations. They're all very different. Sometimes working in corporate settings, but these are the people who seem to have this mentality. And this is just what I see from my observation. They seem to have this mentality that people who are at their level of education, we're not even going to call this intelligence, we're going to call it education, which is, I explained that yesterday, the certain level of ascension that they have gotten to when it comes to the schooling that they received. So when I say educated, that's what I mean. People at that level tend to just understand things better at a higher level, and therefore they are smarter. Therefore, their beliefs, ideas, perspectives are above that of other people who are not at their level of education. These people are the most susceptible to cognitive dissonance. They are least likely to be critical thinkers, especially of their own beliefs. And the smarter or more intelligent that they think that they are, the harder it is to get through to these people. And this is just a common thing. This existed before Trump and MAGA, but it's become more pronounced because of Donald Trump and MAGA. And I'm going to explain what this means. So I just told you that being a critical thinker is all about being willing to challenge things that are presented to you. And most importantly, being willing to challenge things that you have presented to yourself, things that you have come to accept, believe, and basically adopt into your worldview. You have to be willing to challenge those and say, oh, maybe the things that I thought aren't as true as I thought they were. And critical thinkers have this ability. But see, here's the thing about being a critical thinker. It requires a certain level of humility. And while confidence is one of the baseline things that I talk about, like my brand, Work on Your Game, the foundation of what we do here is based in mindset, discipline, confidence, mental toughness, and personal initiative. The business things and the other things that I talk about were built out from the basis of mindset. Mindset is still and always will be the basis of what I do. Even, I don't know if anyone listening to this was following me back in the days when I used to play sports. My background is in basketball. My first 10 years online, from 2005 to 2015, a lot of my content was basketball related. Even then, when I was talking to basketball players, the foundation of what I was explaining to them and showing them was in the mentality. Yes, I could show you how to do the move and how to jump higher and how to shoot a three-pointer, but mindset was the foundation of the whole gig. And by the way, I'll respond to questions and comments at the end, by the way, when I'm done talking. So mindset was the foundation of the gig, and it's still the foundation now when I'm talking to salespeople, entrepreneurs, people trying to build their businesses, people trying to expand their businesses. And I'm saying all that to say this: confidence is one of the biggest pieces that people are always looking for. So I'm not even that much of a pusher of this whole concept of being humble / humility, because I feel that in the world that we live in today, people tend to overuse humility. They use it more than they need to actually use it. I have two of my TEDx talks are around confidence. One of them is about how to build confidence. Another one is literally called "Too Much Confidence Is Not Your Problem." Most people don't have a problem of being too confident. Most people have a problem of being too humble. But at the same time, after saying all that, a critical thinker has to have a certain level of humility to accept that maybe what they believe isn't as true as they thought it was. A critical thinker has to be able to say, let me challenge my own beliefs here. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the world isn't wrong. Maybe he or she aren't wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. And critical thinker has to be open to that. The challenge, the reason I'm bringing up the educated, quote unquote, and when I say educated, what I mean is people with high academic accomplishments, not necessarily smart people, but they have a lot of academic accomplishments. These people are the least humble when it comes to their beliefs and their worldview and their perspectives, because they tend, and I've talked to enough of these people to find this to be a trend, they tend to have this mindset that because of their accomplishments academically, that anyone who does not have their accomplishments can't possibly be smarter than they are, can't possibly know something that they don't know, and can't possibly have a perspective or opinion that could actually supersede their perspective or opinion. Like they might have more accurate information than the educated person does. And I find this happens often. So when I'm on apps like, it happens sometimes on TikTok, I don't see all the comments, but every once in a while, depending on what I'm talking about on TikTok, it happened a little bit yesterday when I was talking, that you get somebody with some level of accreditation, some level of education. They disagree with something that I say, and then they try to move the conversation to something that they can be right about because that's serving their ego. It's not really about the conversation. Like yesterday, I was talking, and there was someone in my comments yesterday who started asking me questions about something that I didn't even say, even though I talked for like an hour and a half about what I did want to say. They may ask me questions about something that I didn't say because they were trying to make themselves right. That's what happens when you deal with these educated folks and you bruise their egos, is that they try to change the subject to something that they can be right about because that is more affirmation and validation of who they are as a person. And the reason that happens is because they dedicate their entire lives to their education. Now, I gave a good amount of time to my education, but not my whole life. Like after I got out of school, my education didn't matter anymore. But imagine somebody who goes to school, let's say K through 12. So how many years is that? So got 12 years plus kindergarten. So what's that? 13. Then they go to college for 4 more years. That's 17. Then they go get an advanced degree. So let's say that's 2 years or 6 years or 8 years. They put so much of their lives into that. So let's just say 20. So 20 years in school. Then they go get a career or a job that is based on the degree. All right. The reason they have the job is because of the degree, and they've been working at that job for another 20 years. So they're giving 40 years of their lives, and they're only 50 years old. So they're giving 40 years of their life to that. That's what, 80%? 80% of their life to that education. Well, they got to make that education matter in every conversation. See how that works? See, I don't have to make my education matter in every conversation because I'm not emotionally invested in what I did in school. I don't really care. When I talk about school, usually I'm bashing it, not talking it up, even though I went to school, even though I have a 4-year degree, because I'm emotionally invested in it. I'm emotionally invested in what I have actually accomplished, what I can actually do, regardless of my credentials. My credentials are not the main thing that matter. It matters, but it's not the main thing that matters. The main thing that matters is the performance. I come from the sports world. The sports world, your credentials don't matter when you get on the court or when you get on the field or when you get on the track. You could be somebody who did this and that last month or last year or at the last place you played. But when you get on the court today, if you don't do anything in the game today, then you're going to get laughed off the court today. All right, that's the world that I live in. That's the world that I operate in, where you have to actually perform and do something right now. So when I get on these lives, don't worry about my resume or my background. I mentioned it when I start my live, but nothing that I talk about is about that. Judge me off what you hear me saying right now. And that's what I want to be judged. I want to be judged on my performance. Because I'm from a performance-based business. I come from the sports world, and that's the way it works. And the sports world is the closest thing to a meritocracy you will get in life. Meritocracy simply means the best players get the best rewards. That's how it works in sports. The closest thing you'll get is sports. And when I say sports, I mean on the court, on the field. I'm not talking about the coaches. Coaching is management. Management is not a meritocracy. I'm not talking about the ownership or the C-suite. Those are not meritocracy. Those are politics. Management, coaching, the owners, job promotions, all of that is politics. The sports world, on the court, on the field, on the track, on the pool, on the pitch, that's performance. If you can't play, it doesn't matter who you know, doesn't matter who your dad is, doesn't matter who you're cool with, you ain't playing. All right. Even LeBron James got a son on the Lakers, right? All right. Does he play? No, he don't get in the game because he can't play. All right. So even that, LeBron is the closest thing to being able to bring politics to the court. He still can't get his son on the court because the son can't play. And the son's going to be in the G League. He should be in the G League instead of sitting on the bench for the Lakers. It's a whole different conversation. But even then, a guy using nepotism to the highest level possible still couldn't do anything. Michael Jordan couldn't get his son. Michael Jordan's son ain't even play basketball. He tried. Michael Jordan's son tried to play basketball. Some of y'all don't even know about that. He didn't really play. Shaquille O'Neal got a son. He plays right now. Y'all ain't never seen Shaquille O'Neal's son. He ain't in the NBA because Shaq couldn't use the nepotism. Dwayne Wade got a son. He ain't playing. I'm bringing all that up. I'm going on a tangent here. The whole point is my background, my worldview is based on what happens in the sports world, not based on what happens in the education world or even the business world, honestly. I'm in the business world, but my worldview is based on the sports world because you got to get out there and perform. And you can't walk around it. As I was going on, he said Bronny's in the G League. Well, he sometimes in the G League, he doesn't even travel with the team, the G League team. He is on the Lakers. So he travels with the Lakers to the Lakers games and doesn't play. And then he's like back and forth. So he's a part-time G League player, part-time NBA bench warmer when he shouldn't be on the NBA roster at all. He should be in the G League full-time, traveling around. And listen, let me tell you something since I brought this up. I'll tell you something about the G League. I did some work for the NBA probably in like 2017, 2018. And I traveled to every city that the G League has a team in, and I spoke to the players. So they brought me in, not as a basketball guy, but as a former basketball player who's now a businessman to talk to them about what to do after your career is over. Because a lot of these players are not going to make the NBA, and they have these NBA has these kind of programs. So I went to every town the G League has, and I saw how they travel. I was on the same planes that they were on, maybe not at the same time. I was in the same hotels that they were in, and this is not luxury living. So any of you don't know, it's not luxury living being in the G League. You're flying commercial. And imagine you got a team, you got 12 guys or there's 10 guys on their roster, half of them are like my height or taller. I'm 6'4". It's uncomfortable for me to sit in a coach class seat on an airplane. I'm 6'4". They got guys that are 6'8", 6'9", 7 feet. It ain't but so many seats in first class, and they can't even afford them. They're flying around on those. They're staying at places like Holiday Inns. They ain't staying at the it's not like they're staying at a Motel 6, but it also ain't the Ritz. And they're staying in places like this. They're living in these small towns, so it ain't like there's no luxury housing in these places. And this is how these guys are moving around. They're eating at Waffle Houses. Again, I would go eat. I would get to a town because I'm going to speak to the team that night, and I would go to a restaurant and eat. And I would see some of the players from the team sitting in the restaurant eating. Now, they didn't know me, and I didn't know who they were, but I knew they were players from the team because they would have on their gear, but they didn't know who I was. They would see me, but they didn't know me. But I would see this. I'm saying all that to say this. The reason why LeBron's son ain't traveling around with that G League team is because LeBron's son probably, I would guess, either this is from LeBron or maybe from his son. He don't want to basically be roughing it with the G League. He don't want to be traveling around on commercial flights and staying in Holiday Inn Expresses and not doing all that. So he wants to stay at the 5-star hotels and be on the private plane with the Lakers, even though he has not earned his way onto that roster. I think we all can come to agree with that at this point. Maybe some of you don't. But anyway, it's not even what I'm talking about here. Back to my point. The more intelligent and educated a person thinks they are, the harder it is for them to be critical thinkers. Thank you for the gifts, whoever put that gift in there. Little Miss, I see with the rose. Thank you. And also Helen, thank you for the rose. So the more intelligent person thinks they are, the less critical thinking they're willing to do, especially when it comes to something like Donald Trump, because this comes to politics. And when it comes to politics, if you have conversations like this, I do on X, not on any other app. So if you want to see me engage with people in text on stuff like politics, just follow me on X. My X name is Dre All Day, or just look my name up. I'm easy to find. I find that the more educated a person is, and usually a person's educated not by how they talk, but just look at their bio. Look what people tout in their bios. It tells you what they hold dear, what they're proud of. It tells you right there in their bio. So you want to know what someone really is proud of, just look how they write about themselves on social media. And usually these are people who the first thing they tell you is either where they went to school or what kind of job they have, where they work. So they'll say, I'm a scientist, I'm a doctor, I've written this many books, I've done this and that. And listen, I say that in my bios as well. Like, it matters, but I don't talk about where I went to school because it doesn't matter to me. But these people, when it comes to politics is kind of like a smart conversation. Politics is a smart topic. Sports is not a smart topic. Like, you don't see people saying, well, I went to college and I have a degree when they're arguing about basketball. Like, all it is, well, we're just talking about what happened. But when it comes to something like politics or science or medicine or what's another thing, education, usually you get these people with credentials and education. They use that as a shield against anyone challenging their point, or they use it as a weapon against anyone who has a point that they don't like. And sometimes I'll even see it in my comments here on TikTok. So they're holding up their education. These people are blind to critical thinking because it requires them to challenge their own beliefs. The problem is their credentials have them believing that everything they believe must be the smartest thing and the right thing out there. There's no way someone with less credentials than them can know something that they don't know. Impossible. It's impossible. So this is just arrogance is what it is. That a lot of people who consider themselves educated are just very arrogant. All right? They are so arrogant about their beliefs and their information that's antithetical to critical thinking. You can't be a critical thinker if you believe everything that you believe cannot be challenged, and that someone who has less education than you could know something that you don't know. You can't do it. You can't be a critical thinker with that framework of thinking. And I've come across enough of these folks. I've been blocked by enough of them. And some people, you would be surprised if I told you what people have blocked me. And these are allegedly educated people with more college degrees than I got. I got a regular 4-year degree. I'm talking advanced degree holders, law degree holders, medical degree holders, master's degree holders. What else can you get when you go to school for more years? Whatever else you can get when you go for more than 4 years. I don't even know. Don't care. But people who have those, I've been blocked by more of them than you would believe. Not because I attacked any of them personally. I don't attack anyone personally. Y'all see how I engage with the comments on here. I just attack their point. And they can't respond back to anything that I'm saying to them because I know how to engage with these people without getting personal with them. Because if you get personal, that gives them an excuse to block you. See, I don't get personal. I just attack their point. I'm like, your point doesn't make sense because, and I lay out why their point doesn't make sense. And when they can't say anything back to me, they just block me. And there's some people who have TV shows. There's some people with a lot of verified account people have done this to me simply because they can't accept that their worldview might not be as accurate as they thought it was. This is just arrogance. That's what it is. And moving on, I'm going to give a couple more points here. Then I really want to see the comments, see what y'all have to say about this. But much of what the media has indoctrinated about Donald Trump is simple propaganda. What is propaganda? Propaganda is either a truth taken out of, or not even a truth, excuse me, a half truth, meaning they're telling you half of what happened. They're taking a fact out of context, or they're just straight up lying. That's propaganda. That's propaganda. Any one of these three is what we call propaganda. So when someone gives you half of the information. So I saw this little clip from 60 Minutes. You know this TV show 60 Minutes in the USA? So 60 Minutes is a show that has been around forever. Since I was a kid, I remember 60 Minutes being around. And they have this tradition, I suppose, that every 4 years when there's a presidential election coming up, they have a sit down with both candidates and ask them a bunch of questions just to basically get them on the record with this TV show of record about what they have to say. And we all know famously what happened this year is that Kamala Harris did sit down with 60 Minutes. The problem was when she sat down with 60 Minutes, she got asked a specific question. I think the question was about the countries overseas in Europe, whose names I'm not going to say. One starts with the letter R, one starts with the letter U. I got to be careful saying those countries' names on here. But those countries, she got asked a question about the conflict happening over there. It was either that country, those countries, or the other two countries that are in conflict right now. One starts with the letter I, the other one starts with the letter P. And she got, I think it was about those, the I and the P countries. And she got asked about the leader of the country with the letter I, or was it the letter P? It was one of those. Anyway, doesn't matter. She got asked a question about that conflict. And Kamala gave this word salad of an answer where she kind of rambled on and didn't really say anything. You know, Kamala had this bad habit of she would say a whole lot of stuff, but she didn't really answer the questions. She didn't really say anything. And you're like, what exactly did she say? And then she's smiling and like she didn't say anything. So she did that on 60 Minutes. And this got out that people saw it. And I think what happened is they ran the actual answer that she gave. And then people clipped it out. And then they realized that it made her look kind of dumb and it made her look bad because her answer was a non-answer. They went and edited the answer and put in a shorter answer that made her sound a lot more concise and a lot more clear as to what she was saying, even though she still didn't give much of an answer, even in the edited version. But people noticed that they switched it out and they started showing it next to each other. Like, here's what Kamala actually said. Here's what they edited it to make it sound like she said something else. And people started demanding, well, put out the transcript of what she actually said. And 60 Minutes refused to release the transcript. So they kind of hurt their own credibility by doing that. And then at the same time, they went to Donald Trump and said, hey, former President Trump, would you sit down with us? Because that's the tradition, to sit down with 60 Minutes. And Donald Trump, because the last time he was running, I don't know if this happened in 2020 or 2016, one of you can tell me, but the last time he did sit down with 60 Minutes, they were basically pulling things out of context and basically trying to throw it at him during the interview. And Trump didn't like that. And y'all know how Trump gets. When he doesn't like something that the media does, he goes on his social media and he trashes the platform. So he was on social media trashing 60 Minutes because he said they're using unfair practices and they were basically trying to do what they call gotcha journalism. So gotcha journalism is when you're the person doing the interview. You are interviewing another person and you just start throwing random things at them to try to make them look bad in the middle of the interview. And Donald Trump people have been trying to do gotcha journalism with him for the last 10 years. The problem with doing it with Donald Trump is that he's really good at kind of thinking on his feet and throwing it back at you. And it doesn't make him look bad. You try to make him look bad, but nobody has done it successfully yet. A lot of people have tried. Nobody has been able to do it. So when they tried to do it with Trump and they put the interview out, and of course they edited the interview, he said 60 Minutes is not fair. I'm not dealing with them anymore. So this year, when they asked him to do the interview, he wouldn't do it. He refused to do the interview on 60 Minutes. And then he won anyway. Kamala did the interview and they tried to help her by editing her answer. Trump refused to do the interview and he still won. So what does that do to 60 Minutes? Kind of makes them look like fools, because now it's like, we don't need you anymore. We can win an election without talking to you, where they thought everybody had to go through them. So they found out wrong. So 60 Minutes, just yesterday, I saw this clip. They were talking about, because Trump has appointed all these people, not appointed, but nominated, or claiming he's going to nominate all these people to be part of his cabinet when he takes the presidency about 2 months from now. And it's funny because he hasn't even become president yet, but everybody's talking about him. Nobody's talking about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who technically are still the president and vice president. You notice nobody's talking about them, and they still have 2 more months of being in charge. But anyway, Trump is naming all these people he's going to put into his cabinet. And 60 Minutes had this little clip where they're talking about all the people that Trump has nominated, but what they were doing was using propaganda, because they just took all the negative stuff you could find about each one. So they took, I'm not even gonna go over the names. So one of the guys, he was accused allegedly of assault of some underage girl a long time ago, and he said it didn't happen. And that's all they said. They said that, then they went on to the next guy. Well, this guy has been accused of this and this. And then they went on to the next person. And they mentioned Tulsi Gabbard, for example. She's been accused of being a person who works for that country that starts with the letter R that I can't say. I know I can't say that because I said it before on TikTok, and TikTok said, no, don't say that word. So I can't say that word. And they went on with her. And they named another person. They did the same thing. That's propaganda. That's called propaganda. And everything that they said, because all they were saying was like basically what many of you, we call them rumors. That's what they are, rumors. That, oh, somebody said this. Somebody accuses this person of that. It's been said that this is the truth. It's been said that this is the thing. So gives them that plausible deniability. Well, we're not actually stating it. We're saying somebody else said it. That's propaganda. That's literally what propaganda is. It's when you take a fact out of context, you give a half truth, or you just tell a straight up lie. And a lot of the mainstream media has been putting propaganda out about Donald Trump for a decade. So they called him the H guy from that country that starts with a G, who did that really bad thing to a bunch of people that start with the letter J. I can't say these names, by the way, and I have no problem saying names. In case y'all don't know me, you don't come to listen to my podcast, I say all these names, but I can't say them on certain platforms. So that's why I'm editing myself right now. And I'm answering questions at the end, by the way. So they said that Trump is that H guy who had the mustache. You know what I'm talking about, right? So he's the H guy. So he's a fascist. That's another thing. I guess I could get away with that, saying that word. He's a racist. He's a misogynist. He's this terrible person. He has all these bankruptcies. He cheated on his wife. All these negative things they could say about him. And it's not necessarily that they are all not true, because some of them are true. Did he have bankruptcies? He did. Did he cheat on his wife? Sounds like it. Has he had multiple wives? Yes, he has. Now, all those other things, he's a fascist and he's the H guy and he's going to destroy democracy. He's going to be a dictator on day one. No, those are not. Now, and what they did a lot was take things that he said out of context and present them as if that's all he said. That's propaganda. So when Trump said jokingly during one of his speeches, I'm going to be a dictator on day one, they just took that phrase out of context. And then people started running with it like, oh, my God, did you hear Trump say he's going to be a dictator on day one? Like, listen, you're smart enough to know that's not what he was saying. But if you take it out of context, you can make it seem that way. And this is what we call propaganda. And this is why, for all of you, you got to be very careful what you consume on social media. Because on social media, anyone can take anything out of context and make anybody look like anything they want you to think that they are. Like if you put a bunch of content on social media, you put a bunch of content on social media, I could go through your content and grab some clips to make you look like a complete idiot if I wanted to. If you just put out enough content, you do a 2-hour interview and do that once a week for a year, I got enough content that I'll find something. I can put it all together. I can put together a 10-minute montage that makes you look like a complete fool if I wanted to. I could also make another 10-minute montage that makes you look like a superstar and the smartest person ever in history. Why? Because when you take things out of context, you can tell any story that you want. And that's what people have done to Trump. They just made up a story and then they just found things out of context to confirm the story. And because most people do not think, most people do not read, and most people are too lazy to get the full context, and they're too lazy to critically think and challenge and question, what am I being presented here? Should I trust this source? That people just come to accept whatever they're told. And this is the problem. Most people accept anything that they're told. And if it connects to something that you already believe emotionally, then it's easy. And this is how propaganda works. And this is why it's worked against someone like Donald Trump. This is why when we had that virus a few years ago, a lot of the things that were being said worked because people were scared. See, if people are scared, they're already emotional. Fear is an emotion. So when people are afraid, anything you tell them when they're afraid that will help somewhat assuage their fears, they'll pretty much go along with it. So that's how a lot of people ended up taking a foreign substance into their bodies that you don't even know what it was, that we know for a fact didn't do what it said it was going to do. And then people just come up with some new idea in their head that says, oh, well, it was a good idea. I didn't get fooled. It was a good idea because had I not taken it, it would have been worse. Really? Really? And I don't know too many people. I haven't come across too many people who took that thing in their arms. And I got to be careful with the words that I use here, who said, you know what, Dre, I got fooled. They fooled me. I haven't met too many people who said that. And I know some very smart people who took it. I didn't take anything. I know some very smart people who took it and they said, well, good thing I took it because even though I got the virus anyway, if I didn't take it, it would have been worse. What? Do you know what the word means? Do you know what that word meant before they changed the definition in 2020? Now, all of you know what I'm talking about, right? I'm talking around it because I got to be careful what I say on certain apps. But y'all know what I'm talking about, right? And this is what people did. And I'm like, this is what we call cognitive dissonance. When reality conflicts with your beliefs, and then you got to come up with a new story, or you can just say, well, damn, I was wrong. Most people don't want to say they were wrong. I was wrong is a new story. Most people are not willing to admit that they're wrong. And again, the smarter a person thinks they are, the less willing they are to admit that they were wrong. That's why I'm bringing up the educated. So those of you out there who are educated, be very careful, you smart people, you book readers, you book writers, you college degree holders, you advanced degree holders, you people with high-minded jobs where you have to be really smart to have the job and to keep the job. You all need to be the most careful because you are the most susceptible to cognitive dissonance because you are the last ones to accept that you might have been wrong because you think you are so damn smart. And I hold myself to that same account. I do think that I'm smart, but at the same time, I have the humility to accept that all of my opinions, that every opinion that you hear me share here is flexible, meaning I'm willing to change it. Right now, I think the Republican side of the political spectrum has the upper hand simply because people in America, the general citizenship has gotten tired of things moving way too far to the left and it's getting a little bit out of control. I think the outcome of the election 2 weeks ago is a reflection of that. That's my opinion right now. But 4 years from now, things might change because the Democratic side might do different things and the Republican side, they might do different things. And when Trump's out of there, we're going to have all new leadership in the Republican Party. And who knows what it's going to look like? We don't know. Trump has dominated since 2016. So it could change, but all my opinions are flexible. So every opinion you hear me sharing here, if 5 years from now you hear me saying the exact opposite, don't go make a clip out of it and say, Dre, you're a hypocrite. I am a proud hypocrite. Why? Because every opinion I have today could be completely different 5, 10 years from now, or 6 weeks from now, even. Every opinion you have should change given new information, new perspectives, and new experiences. When you get new information, a new perspective, or a new experience, some of your opinions should be different than what they were before because you believe something, but now you experience something new. Of course, your opinions should be changing. That's why you got to be careful with opinions and don't let them harden into dogma. Dogma is like what you read out of your religious text that you'll never change your mind on. You should have a few things that fit that description. I also call those principles. Everything else is flexible. My principles are not flexible, but my opinions and beliefs, they're flexible. I'll change those anytime I want to. So be careful of propaganda. Y'all should know better by now. It's 2024. If you use the internet, you should be able to recognize propaganda by now. I'm assuming most of you. So why then is it so widely accepted? This is my last point, and I'm going to take questions. Is because when you get people emotional, they stop being logical. And I want you all to understand you can apply this in any aspect of your life. When you get people emotional, they will stop being logical. So anytime you come across a person who is making really logical points and you want to stop them from making logical points, somehow, some way trigger them emotionally and the logic will go out the window. Now, the challenge depends on who you're talking to. Some people are very easily emotionally triggered. It's easy to get them emotional because they don't have much logic to work with, certain people. But there are other people who are very, very logical. Someone like myself, very logical, critical thinkers tend to lean more logical. And no matter what you try to do, it's hard to get them off of their logical square. So you can't get them emotionally triggered. This is what I meant. Like when I get on social media and someone disagrees with me, often I'll tell you, like, if I go disagree with somebody on social media and my response, my disagreement starts to get reaction or engagement, and the original poster responds back to me, a lot of times their response is more emotional. And when I say emotional, what I mean is they'll say something about me personally or try to ridicule me or attack me or try to get their fans to come at me or something like that. None of this stuff works. But the point that they do that is telling me that someone disagreeing with them one time, even keeping it logical, it's not like I said anything personal about them. Someone disagreeing with them one time gets them emotional that quick. And these are often your educated people. This is not some dumb person who dropped out of 8th grade. These are your educated people. Why? Why does this happen? This happens because they're so used to everyone agreeing with everything that they say that they can't believe when someone doesn't. And they can't believe when someone who disagrees with what they say didn't give them any low hanging fruit to attack. See, it's one thing if I go to who's somebody out there that is a well-educated, well, let's take somebody like Nicole Hannah Jones. She blocked me on X, so I know she's not listening right now. So any of you who know her, y'all can let her know this is the guy that she blocked. So she blocked me on X. I never said anything about her personally. I just challenged her bullshit because she was saying some bullshit that was based in race hustling is what she was doing. And I called it out on a logical level, and she ended up blocking me. Now, why would she block me? I didn't say anything about her personally. I just called out her point. I said her point was nonsense, and it was. It's because she's used to her saying those things and a bunch of people just going along with it and nobody challenging her. And if someone does challenge her, they challenge her on such a simple level that she can easily pick apart what they said. But when I challenged her, I said something that she couldn't pick apart. Therefore, she couldn't respond. So she just blocked me because she couldn't say anything. Now, if people hadn't seen what I said, she could have ignored it. But a bunch of people saw it and it was getting a lot of engagement. So she had to do something. So she ended up blocking me. And that's what ended up happening. And she ain't the only one. I'm just using that as an example because it came to mind. But there's a whole bunch more. You educated folks, I'm going to say it one more time. This is my warning to you. Be careful. You college degree holders, you book readers, you book writers, you professional speakers, you consultants, you experts. Y'all are the ones who are least susceptible to critical thinking and challenging your own thoughts because you think you're so damn smart that you can't possibly be wrong. You are the easiest ones to fool. There was a con man back in the day. Napoleon Hill said this in one of his lectures that this con man, he will go around like conning people out of money. This is back in the days, like in the 30s and the 40s, 1930s, 1940s. And when they finally caught the guy, they asked him who he would go after, who was like the most susceptible person for him to target. Y'all know what the answer was? They asked this con man. So I'm asking y'all to answer this question. They asked this con man, who's the easiest person to steal money from? Like you would target all these different people and steal money from them. Who is the easiest person to steal money from? And he gave an answer. Y'all know what the answer was. He gave an answer and he said, why? And the answer was, someone says, the owner says, con man Trump. No, not Trump. This is back we're talking the 1930s and 40s. Trump wasn't out back then. The answer was, he said, bankers. He said bankers and accountants or the easiest people for him to con. And the detectives said, why are bankers and accountants so easy to con? And the answer was, he said, because they think they're so damn smart that they can't possibly be getting conned. Is the people who don't think they're smart, they're the ones who I can't con because they realize what's happening. They will ask questions. Whereas these bankers and accountants, they think they're so smart that they can't possibly get fooled. They're the easiest ones to fool. And they were the ones he would steal from the most. All that being said, look at Bernie Madoff, kind of a good example. Yes, but Bernie Madoff, he was a little bit different in that he presented himself in a certain way that made people trust him, and he was getting a lot of his clients were referrals. So Bernie Madoff, if you read the book about Madoff, I forget the name of that book. I read the Bernie Madoff book maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, but that book about Bernie Madoff, let me see if I can find it, and I'll tell y'all the title of it because y'all should read that. It's a really good book. And the thing about Madoff is that a lot of his clients, once he started to show some success, because when he first started out, he actually was successful. He wasn't lying the whole time. There was a point where he started lying. But anyway, in that book, one of the things that what is it called? There's a bunch of books on Madoff. Is it this one, Madoff? No, it's not that one. I got to find the book. It's in my library. And they don't give me a way to search because I got it in my Apple Books library. And it is called, let me see if I can find it while it's fresh on my mind. But any of you read a book on Bernie Madoff? Maybe it was The Wizard of Lies. It was either that. There's another book called Madoff. I don't think it's either one of these. I got to find it. It's probably on Amazon. Let me see if I can look it up. There's so many books written on him that it's hard to find the one that I read. The one that I read, though, I liked. It was Bernie Madoff book. Let's see. No, not that one. Not that one. I think it was The Wizard of Lies. I think they just changed the cover. Yeah, I think it's The Wizard of Lies was the book that I read. And the thing about Madoff is that once he started showing some success, his clients start bringing their friends. So a lot of his clients were like referrals. It's not like he was running ads on Instagram. He was just getting a whole bunch of referrals. And those people all were putting money in with him. And he kept showing returns. He was showing returns for so long that it finally got to the point where he was showing returns, and then he got to the point where he couldn't keep it up because the Ponzi scheme couldn't keep working. He finally had to tell on himself, and that's when everything fell apart. So Bernie was a little bit different in that he had people's trust based on the fact that he was actually showing returns. So it wasn't like he was coming to people saying, hey, we're going to run a scheme. Like a con man actually tells you that he's running a scheme. Well, back in the day, con man, Bernie was a con man, but he wasn't coming to me like, hey, Dre, give me $1 million. I'm going to run a scheme. He was saying, give me $1 million. I'm going to give you back 1,100,000. So that's a little bit different. But anyway, all that being said, let me recap quickly what I said and take questions. So we're talking the red pill for MAGA and Trump after this happened. Key traits of critical thinkers, I told you, number one is that they question everything, including themselves. Number two, hardest part about critical thinking is accepting that what you have come to believe is actually not true. Number three, the smarter, more intelligent or educated person thinks they are, the harder it is to be a critical thinker because many educated people are unwilling to believe that what they've been educated with is actually false. Number four, a lot of people who consider themselves to be educated are very arrogant in their knowledge, which means that's antithetical to critical thinking. So they're the easiest ones to fool because they can't possibly accept that they were wrong. Number five, much of what the media has indoctrinated about Trump is propaganda, half-truths, truths taken out of context, and outright lies. And the people who create the content that you consume from mainstream media, guess who they are? Educated people with advanced degrees. All right, that's who they are. People who work in mainstream media TV, almost all of them have a degree. Many of them have advanced degrees, and they will tell you about it within 5 minutes of you meeting them. And number six, why is it so widely accepted? Because when you get people emotional, they stop thinking logically. Critical thinking is logical. It is never emotional. So you have to check your emotions at the door when you're being a critical thinker. Doesn't mean you don't have emotions, but you can't let them control you when you're being a critical thinker. So let me take questions. We're going to start over on this screen. Then we're going to go to that screen. Then we'll come to this screen last. So over on YouTube, Lindsay said, I try to be humble enough to not argue with politics about politics with people, but I will spread the gospel though. That's a good idea. I think for most people, it's better to not even talk about politics because I don't try to change people's minds. That's why I do live streams like this, because I'm not talking to just one person. If I talk to one person about politics and we disagree, neither one of us is going to change the other person's mind. And a lot of time gets used up for nothing. But if I can get my ideas and just put them out like this, then people can hear it. We can take clips of it and all of that. So I don't do this individually, but I will do it in a group. O-Dog, what's going on? Good morning. O-Dog said, life is a performance-based business. That's right. I've been saying that for years. And he said, Bronny should be in junior college. Probably. Sports people see their credentials, use their credentials in arguments as well. Hate when former NBA players say that non-players cannot have opinions. Yeah, you're right about that. That is a good point. Now, that's talking about it. I'm talking about actually playing. But you're right, what you just said. That does happen. You get players get mad when people who didn't play have a opinion that the former player doesn't like. So then they're like, well, you didn't play. So who are you to make that comment? Yeah, I don't like when people do that. So I gave you that point. Propaganda is promotion of data out of context. Yes, that's part of it. That's what LeBron fans do with his stats. Well, they'll say that they're not. That's the argument right there. Rejecting dogma doesn't make you a hypocrite. Principles can be tested and proven. Dogma cannot, and many times doesn't make sense. Right. Well, when it's emotional, see, people ain't trying to stay for the test. O-Dog says, critical thinkers listen well, emotional people do not. When you're dealing with an emotional person, they usually get offended by a point you never made because they're lazy listeners. That is true. And if you're not careful, when you'll end up defending yourself against a point you never made. Yes, that's a trick that people use. They don't know that they're using it, but people do that all the time. People do that, but don't even know that they're doing it. And O-Dog says, what's up, MC? Good morning to you as well, coming in the comments. So let me see what we got over on... I don't think anybody's ever going to comment on LinkedIn when I'm talking about these topics. But shout out to people on LinkedIn if you're listening. I don't think anybody wants to out themselves as listening to these topics on LinkedIn. As Juan, what's going on? Good morning. Soul Art New York says, Mika and the other MSNB, Mika and Joe and Mika. They called him the H guy. They took a meeting with him at Mar-a-Lago. Now they want to bury the hat. Yeah, I saw that. I heard Megyn Kelly talking about that I know they trashed him for years. Well, what happened is, this is what Megyn Kelly said, and I think it's true, was that Megyn Kelly, by the way, she used to work in the mainstream. Now she has her own platform. Her show was just called The Megyn Kelly Show. She said that Joe, who's the other host, he wanted to be vice president during it was either with Bush or Trump. It was one of those. I think it was Trump. He wanted to be vice president the first time that Trump ran, and he didn't get chosen to be the VP because Trump had Mike Pence. And that's when Joe started bashing Trump then. In 2015, 2016. And they've been bashing him ever since. And now that he won the election, and Joe was going hard for Joe Biden, Joe being the host of that MSNBC show, and he was going hard to support Joe Biden, even up till past the trashy debate that Biden had that ended up ending his run. And now that Trump won, now these two people, that Joe Scarborough and Mika, I don't know what her last name is, They go tomorrow. I'll go to meet with Donald Trump because they want to be cool with him now. And they're grifters. That's what. Now, if you want to call somebody a grifter, that's the grift. The grift, somebody's grifting when they switch sides just based on who's in power. That's grifting. So a lot of people throw this word out, grifting. Usually they only use it when they're talking about somebody who supports Trump or the Republicans. But people throw this word out all the time very recklessly. They just call someone a grifter just because they're making money from supporting somebody. But if you actually support them and you happen to be making money doing it, how is that grifting? I don't consider that grifting. They say, well, you're a grifter if you support Trump and you make some money. Like, I'll post something on X in defense of Trump or challenging some liberal person, and they'll say, well, you're a grifter trying to support Donald Trump. Like, how am I grifting, but you're not? I'm grifting because I disagree with your point, but you're not grifting because you made a point. What's the difference? And I even posted this on X yesterday. So if everybody who supported Trump is a grifter trying to make money and trying to be cool with him, what about Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, Beyonce, Oprah Winfrey? Are they not grifters for taking money from Kamala Harris? Isn't that grift? If it's the same thing, that's grifting, right? But I guess it's not grifting if you're supporting the Democrats, but it's grifting if you support the Republicans. What's the difference? I don't understand the difference. If somebody can help me out, please let me know. All right, TikTok. I'm going to take comments now. I think I can go as far back as, let's see. I don't know where I'm at. Jamie said, never seen such a perfect example. I don't know what you're referring to, but hopefully it's something good. Corva says, because Trump is always so specific and clear in his responses. I don't know if that's it. Jay Brown asked me my thoughts on tariffs. So thank you for the pinned comments. Brittany, please keep doing that. So Jay Brown said, thoughts on tariffs. I don't have any thoughts on it yet because we got to see what Trump actually does. We got to remember he hasn't actually become president yet, so we can't do anything yet. Now, I know some companies are allegedly preemptively responding to the things that he's doing, but he hasn't actually become president yet. So nothing I can really say about the tariffs until he actually starts doing them, if he starts doing them. So we'll see if he does. And we'll see what actually happens. That we can measure. So it ain't really a ton that we gonna have to say about it, because we can just look at the black and white data. Priscilla says, people can't get in the military without a felony. Now the commander in chief has a felony. Technically, you're right, Priscilla. Yes, that's correct. At the same time, we have to put into context how he got those felonies. How did he get them? He got them because the Department of Justice is weaponized against him. I think we can all agree with that. And if you can't agree with that, well, do you have the full context of how it happened? And we know that that's what they did. They held on to all of those things. Everything that Trump got charged with, I think he had 4 different cases, right? That all came up this year. All of those things happened at the latest in 2020. So why'd they wait till 2024 to take him to court? They waited because they wanted to use it against him to stop him from running, and it didn't work. So that's that. So that's the context. That context matters. When we put things in context, then it makes a lot more sense. Jerome says, so you're speaking propaganda because they said that she was a R-word sympathizer. So they said, that's called hearsay. Jerome, Richie, too. Just because somebody says something doesn't mean it's true. Like, if I start spreading a rumor that you were something that you're not, does that make it propaganda for you to push back against it? If I spread a rumor that you did something illegal and you didn't do it, is it propaganda when you say I didn't do that? Or are you actually providing the truth of the situation? Jay Runs NYC said, if they did the bad things, it's not propaganda. Well, key word to your statement, if. Now, if you accuse somebody of doing something, you got to prove it. That's the way it works. Irma V, good morning. If you accuse somebody of doing something, you have to prove it. You can't just say it. Like, I could say anything about you if I want. Does it make it true? So Melanie said, you should be a spokesperson for schools, colleges, high school, employer, etc. The education system doesn't like me. Did you see my live yesterday? Melanie, education system's not bringing me in to do anything. At least not anything they would pay for. Not at the stuff that I've said. We don't vote for people to be in the military either. That's correct. Exactly. People choose to be in the military. Heidi said, love our President Trump. All right, great. Well, he is going to be the president. So Jay said he did bad things. Well, you got to prove it, Jay. You posting in a comment on TikTok does not prove it. That's not proof. Mary Helene said Pelosi actually enhanced and used all the time. Use what? Propaganda? If so, then I'd say yes. JJ said he bankrupted a casino. You talking about Trump? It was his casino, wasn't it? If he bankrupted, it's his casino. So I guess he got a right to. If I want to bankrupt my own business, I can do that. It's my business. Melanie said, where are your podcasts? I'm on Spotify And Brittany, if you could put this in the comments, my show is called Work on Your Game, and you can find it on Apple or Spotify. Every single day. It's a daily show. Casey says they accuse him of all the things they're actually doing. I've heard people say that there are many things they've accused him of that they are doing. That is, they say he's trying to destroy democracy. Well, which party just threw a candidate in without doing a full situation? I got to be careful how I say that, because I said that before and they kind of, TikTok didn't like it. Shuggy, what's going on? Good morning. All right, something got jumped down. Sometimes on TikTok, the comments just jump and I miss where I was at. So I got to scroll back. So B. Alexander says to vote for the same person that the white S word, I got to be careful saying that, and the triple K publicly support is an oxymoron. No, it's not. No, it's not. What if the white S word, what if they supported Kamala? Would you just not vote for Kamala just because they support her? So again, flip the argument around. Ask yourself if that makes any sense. And when you flip it around, it doesn't make any sense. And then to say, well, them supporting him means that he must be this thing. I disagree with that. I don't think so. If someone is a terrible person, let's say me and you agreed, B. Alexander, that a certain person was bad and that person liked the same thing that you like, would you just stop liking it just because that person likes it? That doesn't make any sense. You sound like a elementary school kid. So let's say I like French fries, and then I find out that somebody I hate also likes French fries. Does that mean I need to stop eating French fries? That doesn't make any sense. Max says, a suit doesn't make you smart, bro. This is TikTok. Stop pretending. Well, Max, you know what? I agree with you. A suit does not make you smart. And I never said that I never declared that I was smart. But judge me off what I've done. Judge me off my work. And what am I pretending? This is not pretending. I wear a suit every day. If I wasn't doing this live, I would still be in a suit. So what am I pretending to be doing? I don't think there's any pretending happening. Janice says, I know people that took it and passed away. I've heard that. Now, there are also people who took it and didn't pass away. So we also got to put that in context, Janice. I get what you're saying, though. I understand what you're saying. Clarence said, I did not take it and I'm happy and well. Me too. Melanie said, dictatorship isn't always negative. It has some leadership concepts in the definition. That's also correct. Yes. And anyway, he couldn't be a dictator because that's not the way the system is set up here in America. So it was a tongue-in-cheek statement that he was making, because you can't be a dictator in America. It's not possible. That's why we had a system of checks and balances. Bella says, nah, we should have moved further left. Give me some context to that, Bella. Why are you saying that? Casey said, Republicans are basically old school Democrats now. That was an interesting thing, Casey. If you go back to the 90s, the way that Republicans talk now is exactly how the Democrats were talking back then. So you are directionally, you're correct. Opinions are not facts. That's correct. Beach Babe, you're right about that. We agree. Bella said, I'll be thrilled if your opinions evolve as well. My opinions always evolve. I'm always changing opinions based on new information, new experiences, and new perspectives. Melanie said, we should have more dictatorship, this current admin, rather than nothing. Yeah, this current admin, we don't know who's running things. That's the interesting thing about America. We don't know who's actually running the show, at least right now. Now, when Trump comes in, we know he's running it. But after that, who knows? We don't know. Patty Turner Pira said the jab did it to both in-laws within 5 days of the second jab. How old were they? We got to put it in context. Now, they might have happened anyway. What I think happened with the virus is that it sped up things that were going to happen anyway. I said that back when it happened. If your business was doing bad, not the jab, but the virus just sped up your business going out of business. If you were going to pass away, the virus just sped up you passing away. My mother's father, who is technically my grandfather, but she didn't have a relationship with him, so I didn't have a relationship with him because he wasn't around when she was growing up. He passed away. He got the virus and passed away. And then my sister and my father were all talking about, well, such and such passed away from the virus. I'm like, he didn't pass away from the virus. So let me tell you this story. So 2017, right? My cousin, my female cousin, she gets married in New York. So I go to the wedding, right? And everybody in our family gets invited. So my mother's father, who again, technically my grandfather, but I never really knew the dude because he wasn't around. Somehow, some way he gets invited to the wedding. I don't know why, but he got invited to the wedding. All right, because my cousin who got married, my girl cousin, her dad is my uncle. So I guess he had a relationship with dude. So he comes to the wedding and he's sitting at the same table as me, my girl now wife, My mom and dad are sitting at this table, and my grandma, like the woman that he left, she's sitting at a different table because they didn't want her at the same table as him because they don't like each other. So he's at the table with his wife, and this dude could barely move. Y'all know, ever seen a man when he's older and he's been through some stuff? He had a stroke. He had some other stuff that happened to him. I don't even know, but he couldn't move. He couldn't walk by himself. He has a cane. Somebody got to hold his hand. He couldn't go to the bathroom by himself. He couldn't even turn his neck. So he's sitting at the table. You know, at a wedding, you got the circular tables, right? So we're sitting at this table as a circle. He's like 3 seats away from me, and he's trying to talk to me, but he couldn't turn his neck. So he's turning his eyes like this and talking to me, but he couldn't turn his neck. And I'm talking back to him, but he couldn't turn his neck. I'm like, this dude is he's on the edge of the grave. Like, he's like, somebody just give him a little push. He's falling right in the casket. And this is in 2017. So in 2020, the virus happens. He gets the virus and he passes away. And my sister's talking about my grandfather died of the virus. Like, no, he didn't. He was already damn near dead. All right, the virus just kind of gave him a little push. All right, he didn't die from the virus. He died with the virus. But that happened to a lot of people. But again, because people were so emotional over the virus, they're like, oh, I know all these people who died from the virus. Like, yo, dude was like 85 years old. He was going to die anyway. So no, that was not the virus. He just died, period. The virus just happened to be happening. And so there's a lot of people just push that because, again, it was emotional. And y'all know that what they were doing with that virus, right? Y'all know that hospitals, if somebody got in a car accident and died in a car accident, they would test the dead body for the virus. And then they would say that's a death from the virus. Like, really? They were doing that. TXN says, me and my family took the jab, all doses. We're getting our boosters tomorrow for flu and COVID. Okay. Do as you wish. Do as you wish. I ain't telling you not to do it. You do whatever you want. Your body, your choice. Isn't that what they said? Aaron with 2 R's says, what's the best book behind me? Well, they're all my books. So it's like asking me what's my favorite child. If I had to tell you to read one, I'll tell you get The Third Day. That book right there. ThirdDayBook.com. Can you put that in the comments there, Brittany? Third Day, it's all spelled out. ThirdDayBook.com. The book is free. Just cover the shipping. ThirdDayBook.com will send you a physical copy of it. Beats Babe said, you keep saying the same thing. When are you going to answer questions? I'm answering questions right now. What's your question? My son is in there having fun. Let's see. Elderly Shuggy, what's going on? All right, so I answered the question about the book. Let me see. Any other? I'm scrolling through right now. They were the only ones with money. LOL. Yeah. Sam B. Freed. Catch me if you can. Right. Yeah, that was based on a true story. Yes. Bank Slayer says, should we default on our debt? Should we stop paying taxes? I can't give you that advice. You can if you want to. You can if you want to, but you're not going to say my name in court and say that I told you to do it. So I can't answer that question. Melanie said, education is what's taught. Gaining experience is the wisdom of what is taught. All right, fair enough. That's fine. There's a movie called Wizard of Lies, but a book is always better than a movie. In anything, Game of Thrones, Bernie Madoff, anything in life where there's a movie and a book, if you want the full context, I'm talking to everybody, read the book. The book has much more context than the movie. The movie's only 2 hours. The book gives you everything. Wizard of Lies is a good movie as well. Oh, yeah, I remember De Niro was in that. I'm sure it was a good movie. Movies are more entertaining than books, but I would rather read the book than the movie. I don't watch movies. TSG asks, am I from Louisiana? No, I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I live in Miami, Florida, but I'm from Philadelphia. Why you ask that question? Let's see. RX Indo said, I work for the health department. You just saying stuff now. Okay, so this is another example. It's the same thing that happened yesterday when I was talking about education. Someone who works in the education system didn't like what I was saying, and they started basically trying to invalidate everything that I was saying because I didn't go along with what they believe. What am I just saying? You work for the health department. What does that mean? Why are you even bringing that up? The fact that you work for the health department, RX Indo, is further proof that you probably don't want to hear anyone trash in the health department. So you're actually proving my point, because the fact that you work there, your well-being is invested in whatever the health department does or says or tells you to do or say. Therefore, when someone like me comes along trashing or questioning the health department, you may take it as if I'm questioning your very existence as a person. I'm not, but it's your choice. If you don't like it, that's your decision. But the health system is a scam. The American health system is a scam. And I'm going to do a whole album on that. I almost did that one today, but I might do that one later on this week. So let me see. But if you say I'm just saying stuff, please point out specifically what you are challenging. RXN, tell me what you're challenging, and I'll address it. Bank Slayer already answered that question. You posted like 8 times. H21 Millie said, "Thank you for speaking raw truth. Truth will ultimately unite us all, or it will divide us, one or the other." Ultimately, H21 Mill, you're right, but I don't know. We might all be dead and gone by the time that happens. All of us, personally. Maybe our kids and our grandkids, maybe. But I don't know if it's going to happen in our lifetimes. Let's see. AU Hunter says, critical thinking requires self-awareness that paradigms can and do change. That is correct. Purple Haze, I said, I agree. Dems need to support every pick of Trump's. Dems are tired of cleaning up after them. That's interesting. We'll see if that happens. I don't think so. I mean, you might be right. I don't think it's going to happen. Mark says, educated folks are dead set in their ways and thinking, indoctrinated by the system. Exactly. That's correct. And as a general rule, I'm not saying all of them. So Busy Minds Boutique responded immediately, said, I'm educated and I'm not. Well, we don't mean every single person, Busy Minds. I think you understand that. As a general rule, yes. In my experience, the more educated a person is, the harder it is to get them to question anything they believe. Brittany said, I love that Trump is funding his own transition team. I didn't know that. Well, good. Good that he's doing that. Aaron Burr. Who's Aaron Burr? Zeke said, speak up, boss man. You can't hear me? Jeremy said, you aren't Beyonce. LOL. What does that have to do with anything? I never said I was Beyonce. Anybody ever confuse me for Beyonce? Casey said, why do Dems think it takes 4 years for the economy to turn around? Always blame previous president. Well, Barack Obama kind of messed that up because when he was on the campaign for Kamala, he said Trump was talking about he had a good economy, but that was my economy. Obama said that. So if the economy does well, then what happens is the politician will say it's because of me, and if the economy fails, then they blame the previous person. So either way, they win. That's the way it is. John Doe said, you don't understand tariffs, dude. I didn't say anything about tariffs. I never mentioned them. I only read what somebody said. So I never said anything about them. Lee said, but the fact is he was found guilty. Okay, that's fine. Now, Lee, let's go look at all the black males who were incarcerated in the United States. They were all found guilty too. So does that mean that we can just say that? That's the fact, they were found guilty? See, that argument falls apart very quickly when you start asking critical questions. Do you believe, Lee, that there are any people incarcerated in the United States right now because they were found guilty, but they should not be incarcerated? Do you believe that? Or do you believe every single person who's incarcerated right now, they deserve to be there because they got found guilty? You see, it's easy to use that against somebody who you don't like. Do you use that same framing against somebody that you do like? Kirk 87, exactly. Right there, 2 comments down. Did we say that about everybody convicted of a crime? You got to say that if you're going to use that framing, you got to apply it to every single person who's in jail right now. They all got found guilty. Or they plead and basically end up guilty. That's how they ended up in jail. So Brittany says in New York state law, he is not a felon until sentenced and he won't be. I've heard people saying that. Yes. Angela says, do I believe in Trump presidency? What do you mean, do I believe in it? Do I believe that he won? I do believe that he won. I don't know what you mean. Do I believe in his presidency? Mama Wendy said they changed the statute of limitations temporarily to get him. Yes, that's exactly what they did. So when people understand that context, then this whole thing of he got found guilty, it gets thrown out the window. Or that he has a felony, gets thrown out the window. They opened up all of these things just so they could go after him. And again, the 4 cases, the RICO thing came from 2020. The documents thing was from like 2020 or 2021. The fraud thing was from 2016. And the assault thing was from what, 2012, and whenever that happened. That was a long time ago. All these things were old. They could have been did this to all these people. John Doe said, you hired a fascist authoritarian leader. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. The voters of America did that. So be mad at the country. Don't be mad at me. Trinidadian said, sad when people don't know a uses of the judicial system to hurt others. No, we wouldn't do that. Exactly. So again, if you're going to hold the justice system's results against Trump, then you got to hold it against every single person who's incarcerated right now. That means they're all guilty because they're all in jail. If we're going to hold it against Trump, you got to hold it against everybody. And that argument falls apart that quick. Dre Word says some things proof is not necessary. Like what? Give me an example. Dre Word 823. What do you mean? Angela said the court did prove that he's guilty of all these charges. Well, the court found him guilty. They didn't really prove it. What they did was they found him guilty. The thing is, just because somebody gets found guilty doesn't necessarily mean that they did it. It just means you got found guilty. Again, justice system in America, people tend to shift the goalposts. They will trash it when an outcome is not to their liking, but then they'll utilize it when it's an outcome that you want. So if you don't like Trump, you'll say, well, look at all these things the court found about him. But then when somebody you like gets found guilty, you're like, oh, the justice system is trash. Well, which one is it? We can't change the parameters based on who it applies to. Parameters are parameters. Brittany said unanimous decision is needed to convict, not a 2-2-2 like in Trump verdict the Supreme Court ruled on. Isabella said he's a puppet for the real people running it behind the scenes. You talking about Trump? There's some people who say that about every president, but we'll see. I think Trump is if you're talking about Trump, I think he's less of a puppet than any of the presidents we've had in the last 25 years. So even if you are talking about Trump, I think it still could be that he's not as much as everybody else. Let's see. Lacey said, 22-year-old drowned in a lake here, and they listed him as a casualty of the virus because he had it at the time. Yes, exactly. They were doing that because they were incentivized to do it. The black man is God said, where's your medical degree? All right, so there's the appeal to authority fallacy right there. That's what we call that. I don't have a medical degree. I'm not even talking about medicine. But when I do my whole live on medicine, I guarantee it's going to be like 50 people leaving that same comment. So wait till I do that one. The black man is God. Wait till I do that one and you save that comment. And you can use it. You can use it in a more accurate way when I start talking about medicine. That's not even a topic today. Christy says, so many specific and calculable stories from medical professionals that aren't even any words. I don't know what you mean by that. TXN said, I work in medical research. So what does that have to do with anything? RXN said, what background in medicine do you have? None, zero. I have zero background in medicine. What does that have to do with me having an opinion? That's my question. My question to you is, what does my background in medicine have to do with anything that I'm saying about medicine? If you don't have a background in basketball, are you not allowed to have a opinion or make a comment? That's what we call the appeal to authority fallacy. That because someone has some level of authority, a job, a degree, some expertise, etc., that means whatever they say, we got to listen to. And anyone who doesn't have it, we shouldn't listen to. So to the people who are saying that, a couple of you saying that, understand that we just went through that virus 4 years ago. All right, so that doesn't work anymore. Y'all remember Dr. Fauci? I should probably not even say his name on here. So Ashley said, a lot of haters in the chat. Appreciate your live and dressing the part, suit and logic for the win. Haters? No, I don't consider them haters. I don't think they're haters. I think just people who disagree. That's fine. You are welcome to disagree. Good morning, Ashley. Good to see you. You're welcome to disagree. But if you disagree, give me a reason why you disagree. Nobody's giving me a real reason yet. You're just telling me only disagreements I've seen is somebody's telling me where you work. Like I care. I don't. And you're asking me where I got a degree from, which has nothing to do with the fact that I have an opinion. And if my opinion is off for some reason, tell me why it's off. That's all I'm asking. You can disagree with me. Tell me why you disagree. Nobody has told me why they disagree. You're just telling me that you disagree indirectly by talking about what you do for a living. That has nothing to do with my subject. Lori, thank you for those roses. Tan, I can't read that name. Chris says, so much common sense. Thanks for presenting the way you do. Thank you. Tand D cephal cells. I don't know what that says. Let's see. So the question from Brittany says, does that make you all knowing? Yes, exactly. I mean, just because you work somewhere doesn't mean that everything you say about it is right. I write books. Does that mean everything I say about books is correct? If you want to write a book, or let's say you want to go read a book, I've written 35 books. Does that mean everything that I say about books and being an author in the literary business is 100% unchallengeable and that you can't question anything that I said? No, it doesn't mean that. It just means that I wrote books. It does not mean that my positions are not challengeable. Christy said, I'm from Louisiana and I hear it too. No, I got a Louisiana accent. I've never heard that before. Dana said, asked me about the Menendez brothers. I saw that there were some stories about them and there was a Netflix doc, but I haven't consumed any of the material. I haven't seen the doc. I saw Candace Owens was talking about it. I saw Megyn Kelly was talking about it, but I haven't listened to either one of the episodes where they talked about it. So I have no thoughts. I have no thoughts on that. D. Woodall said, token little man. You talking about me? Where are you going to see me at? Let's see. The black man is God said, we believe the experts. Really? You believe the black man is God and you believe the experts? So did you believe the experts when black people were held in slavery? They were experts. Black people weren't seen as experts back then. Were they experts then? And believing in the experts is what we call the appeal to authority fallacy. So here's the thing about being an expert. And there are some areas in which I do believe that I'm an expert, but it's like this. If someone is an expert, that means they can answer any question, they can respond to any challenge, and if they disagree with something, they can explain in clear, concise language why they disagree. That's what makes somebody an expert. What makes you an expert is not that you say something and everyone has to agree with it just because you said it. Again, we experienced this during 2020. We experienced this already. So being an expert doesn't mean that you can't be challenged and can't be questioned. It means that actually you can be challenged and questioned and you can respond to the challenges and questions clearly. That's what a real expert does. And also a real expert has the ability to communicate their position so clearly that even a person who has no knowledge whatsoever of the subject can understand what they're saying. So if you ask me to explain the book writing process, even those of you who don't even read books, let alone have you never written one, I can explain the book writing process to you in a way that you can understand it very clearly. And if you want to write a book, you would know exactly how to do it within an hour of talking to me. That's what makes you an expert. If you have a 10-year-old son or daughter, you could sit them down with me and I will explain to them how to write a book and they would understand it. That's what really makes you an expert, is that a fifth grader can understand you. And if you have to talk over people's heads to make it seem like you're smarter than them to where they can't understand what you're saying, that is not an example of expertise. That's an example of arrogance. So anything I'm an expert at, I can explain it to someone who knows absolutely nothing and you would get it. That's expertise. Not I have a degree, not I work here, not I read this study or I worked in this industry for this long. None of those make you an expert. They just mean that you got a job. That's all it means. Joanne Linden, I agree with that. We take a couple more comments and then we'll wrap this up, folks. Casey said there are so many studies that prove these health workers wrong, but they don't research. Well, they do research. They research what the health system tells them to research. They read the books that they're told to read. And the books that they're told to read are not ones that are going to bring into question anything that they already believe. All right, here's what you got to understand about any type of drugs given in the United States of America, that the studies that are presented to you that prove, quote unquote, that the drug is safe, those studies are paid for, they are commissioned and paid for by the very companies that sell you the drug. Do y'all understand this stuff? Again, y'all got to understand that the people who are presented to you as authorities, they are not dumb people. These are very smart people. They know how to game the system because most people do not think, they do not read, and most people are lazy. So the same company selling you an over-the-counter medicine, they have a test, what do we call it? A study that proves that their drug is safe. The study was paid for by them, by people that they hired to prove, quote unquote, that the drug is safe. And they're the ones who are selling you the drug. Do you understand the hustle that is being run on you? Now, if y'all don't understand that, then we're going to have a whole lot of fun when I do my live on Robert F. Kennedy coming in to take over the medical system in America. That's going to be a good one. And that's coming soon. All right. So what will Trump administration do to change the current health system's problems? Actually, Sweetie Pie just answered that question. I just told you. Wait till I do that. Wait till I do that one. Little Miss Precocious said you had to do the blue pill tomorrow. The blue pill you already got. Y'all get the blue pill 24 hours a day. All right. I'm taking an hour and a half maybe out of your day to give you the red pill. The rest of the day, you're getting the blue pill. So I don't need to do a live on the blue pill. You already got it. Most of you are already living the blue pill. Your whole life is the blue pill. All right. So I'm giving you the red pill for an hour a day. All right. You got 23 hours of blue pill. Logan said, is it weird that half of America is consistently on the wrong side of history? I don't know if you mean that if you're being sarcastic. I don't like when people even use that phrase, be on the right side of history. All right. So if you agree with me, you're on the right side of history. You disagree with me, you're on the wrong side of history. All right. Bullshit. That's an appeal to emotion fallacy is what we call that. AZ Mom said, I got so tired of the lies from Harris. Well, they're saying that she might try to run in 2028. So that'll be fun. I don't think she's going to make it, but we'll see. I don't think she's going to make it out of the primary, but we'll see. Mike May says, new follower. Thank you for your live. Well, thank you. Glad you're a new follower. Dan, I don't have any thoughts on Menendez trial. I haven't seen any of the material. I heard about it, but I haven't seen any of it. Sweetie Pie said, so you don't know what Trump's going to do to fix the current health system. That's what we call a straw man question or a straw man comment. Straw man is when you take something that person didn't say and then you rephrase it as a question or a challenge and then ask them to respond to it. That's what we call a straw man fallacy, Sweetie Pie. Nice try. I don't think you did that on purpose as a fallacy, but that's what you just did. I didn't say I didn't know. I said, wait till I do my live talking about Robert F. Kennedy coming in to work on the health system. That's what I said. Oh, Christy says, speak up, boss man sounds like preach. Oh, so that's like a compliment? Okay, maybe that's what it meant. Forever Evolving said Trump gained a good economy. Yes, that's what Barack Obama said. So that means Joe Biden gained a good economy, right? I mean, Joe Biden picked up on Trump, but Trump picked up on Obama. All right, so either way, the argument falls apart. See, you can't use it just to make Trump look bad without making the other guy look bad. So which one is it? So Melanie said, it's giving mastermind. I don't know what that means. Logan said, if you agree with Trump on tariffs, then you don't understand tariffs. I haven't said anything about tariffs. I just got a couple of people asked the question. I said, I haven't said anything about it. So you're posing that as a straw man comment. Forever said the economy was on an uphill climb for 8 years. Well, it was coming out of a recession. So wouldn't that have happened anyway with any president? Possibly. I'm saying it not for you to answer as a rhetorical question. So, of course, so both Hot and Cold said Trump removed the penalty for not buying healthcare. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'm asking you. So let's see. Because the TV told them to disagree. Carla Francis says science is bought and paid for. Yes, it is. That is just reality. What we call science, quote unquote. People say, I believe in science or I trust science, whatever people say. What does that even mean? Science is always being challenged. So what are you actually believing in? Thoughts on Biden approving long-range missiles for, I can't say the names of those countries, Amanda. My thoughts on it is that being in the Department of Defense, anything that you can make money from the defense spending that America does is a great business to be in. That's my thoughts on it. I said that yesterday. That's what I think about that. But I can't say the names of those countries on this particular stream, the one I'm looking at right now. I cannot say the names of those countries. Ange Blue said, what is my opinion on what just happened possibly causing WW3? I just told you. I can't say the names of those countries. So if that ever happens, I don't know if I can do a live on this particular platform talking about that because I won't be able to say the names of the countries. And who knows, whoever runs this particular platform, they might not like anything I say about one of those countries. But when I talk about America, I seem to have free reign to say what I want to say. So I think we're going to stick to America for now. Now, if America gets into that, then I might have to talk about it. AU says, the former healthcare administrator, I know for a fact that was happening. Oh, yeah, we all know now. AU Hunter, we all know that was happening. That was definitely happening. Brittany says, if you can read, you can learn. That's true. TX said, I do not disagree with you. All right, great. Tony said, opinions on basketball do not affect my life. The next admin's opinions on the V word will. How so, Tony? How will it affect your life? You could just choose not to take it if you don't want to, and you could take it if you do. Nobody has to take it, but depending on your line of work, you might be you might be threatened to lose your job if you don't take it, but you don't have to. So the next admin's opinions on V's won't change my life. So why would it change your life, Tony? I don't understand what you're saying there. Milkshake said they're acting like you're out here prescribing meds. I know I didn't. All I said was that I'm just challenging the things that people believe about it. I'm not invalidating anything that you have, any of you who's in the medical space. And wait till I do my live on the medical space. If y'all excited about, I'm not even saying anything here today, but wait till I get into it. You'll see. You'll see. Being a nurse or a doctor or in the med field doesn't mean that you know all about it. Exactly. It just means you know how to do your job, hopefully. Hopefully you know how to do your job. Let's see. Charles said, my man doesn't know what an expert is. Yeah, okay. We'll just let that comment be right there. So Adam says, how can I tell you're MAGA without even hearing your original argument? I'm not MAGA. I'm not Democrat nor Republican. I just look at things logically and as objectively as possible. And what's interesting is that when I do that, no one ever assumes that I'm a liberal or a Democrat. So what does that say about the Democrats? I posted that on TikTok yesterday. What does it say about the Democrats that when I try to be logical and objective, people assume that I'm on the right? I think that says a lot about the Democrats. That's what I think. Nicole says science is all about questioning, forming hypotheses with the ability to be different and change. Well, to challenge your hypotheses. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Tony says not talking over people is people refusing to learn when things are explained all over. I don't know what you're referring to there. AZ Mom said, am I on X? Yes, I'm on every app. My X name is Dre All Day, or just type my name in. My name is Dre Baldwin, DREBALDWIN. Brittany, can you put my name in the chat so people know? If you just type my name in on whatever app you're on, my profile will come up. I'm pretty easy to find on every app. My profile pictures are not always the same, but I think I got the same profile picture on X that I have on TikTok, I think. So I'm pretty easy to find. Let's see. Yes, there's my name. So any of you want to find me on any other app, just type my name in. That's my actual name, Dre Baldwin. Adam says, I don't know what you're referring to there. Looking into Kennedy Maha for upcoming health systems. Well, yeah, that's Kennedy said that's what he's going to do. We'll see what he does. I'm going to talk about that again on the level that I talk about these things. I'm not talking about these things going into specific data and studies. Like that would have to be a whole book, not just a 60-minute live stream. C19, the response opened my eyes completely. It did to a lot of people who weren't already open. I was already open, but when that happened and I saw the way they were talking about it, I said, this doesn't make sense. The patient advocate said, pharmaceutical corporations write the medical books we are forced to consume and treat as the word. Yeah, and a lot of people don't know that. The patient advocate, a lot of people don't understand it. That people go to medical schools and they read textbooks. Those books are written by the pharmaceutical companies. Then you go to work, you get a job as a nurse or a doctor, and you start prescribing the pharmaceuticals that you were taught to prescribe because you read it in a textbook. The same company whose pharmaceuticals you are prescribing are the ones who told you to prescribe their pharmaceuticals. This is a hustle. The medical industry is a beautiful hustle. So RFK's got an uphill climb. If he actually tries to do any of the things he said he's going to do, they're going to come at him really, really hard. Adam Govino says, hustle being run on you by a guy selling a course. I'm not selling a course. Name one course that I'm selling. Name it. Name the course that I'm selling. I haven't mentioned any courses this whole time I'm talking. Nice try, though. Rebecca said, I'm looking forward to hearing that one. Oh, me too. Looking into Kennedy. Oh, I already read that one. Personally love the RFK appointment. Well, it'll be interesting one way or another. The system is going to fight back. So all these things that Trump and his cabinet are saying they're going to do, it's not going to be an easy walk in the park. They're going to get fought back against, but they're at least going to try. Just like AU Hunter, RFK will peel back the corruption or health system. Yeah, he's going to expose it. Now, if he's going to be able to fix it is a different story. So we're going to see. We're going to see. Steve Lee said, another one of these guys against their own self-interest. Well, that's an oxymoron, Steve. What is my self-interest? You had to know what my self-interests are to make that comment, and you don't know. So, all right, a couple more comments, then we'll wrap this up, everybody. Ange, I can't answer that question. I already answered that question about WW3. All presidents inherit something from the last administration. That's correct. They all inherit something from all of the administrations because they got to deal with America as it is right now. So 2024 or Trump coming in 2025, he inherits everything that's happened in America every year, all up until now. He inherits all of it. So it's hard to comparing one president to the other is apples to oranges if you really put it in actual context. So let's see. We appreciate people like you. Thank you, JJ Finest. Why y'all in here talking about tariffs? That was not the subject here today. We're talking about the red pill on just the existence of Donald Trump and MAGA. I keep seeing these comments, people talking about tariffs. Why are y'all arguing about this? Am I going live on a different platform today? I'm live on all the platforms right now. So I'm on YouTube, Rumble, X, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm just looking at TikTok comments, but I'm live on all these platforms. So it's people watching me over here and over here and over here. I got 3 different devices open right now. They're all live, but this is all at the same time. So they're all hearing the same thing. So Appreciate you, Jeannie Johnston. Brittany, get Adam Govino out of here. He got to go. Talking too much. Let's see. It's hard to find a doctor nowadays that doesn't want to push pills or shots. Is that new? I thought that was always a thing. That was always a thing. Forever evolving face said, it's the condescending way you deliver yourself. What's condescending about it? I mean, I am the one on the stage. What's condescending about it? Please explain. Uncle T-Bone said, I think your view of quote unquote logical is subjective interpretation of reality. All reality is subjective. So Uncle T-Bone, I agree with you. Logical is a subjective term and all reality is subjective. Each one of us has our own reality. So I have a reality right now of looking at the screen and seeing your comment. You have a reality of looking at the screen and seeing me reading your comment. Those realities are not the same. So you are 100% correct. Let's see. Kennedy going after Big Pharma. Yeah, he's going to try. We'll see what he does. Live Free said people want to believe in the lies. Well, I don't think they believe that they're lies. I think they believe it's the truth. So you may consider it a lie, but they consider it the truth. That's the dichotomy here. Let's see. Thank you, Dre, for providing the space to discuss topics of value and meaning. Thank you. Milkshake, what's my views about the aliens? LOL. Yeah, I didn't mention aliens. People just be bringing up random stuff to try to change the subject. We got to keep it on the topic, folks. Digital Dawn said, Trump energy is amazing. Yeah, isn't he almost 80 years old? So to keep going like that is crazy. So a couple more comments, then we're going to wrap this up, folks. I'm almost going through all of these. OG Goddess said, I do not agree with you, and I have a few questions. All right, post your questions quickly before we wrap this up. OG Goddess, what are your questions? Or whatever you disagree with. OG said, a lot of it is condescending. Well, condescending is a subjective term. So if you think it's condescending, I don't disagree with you. I don't think it's condescending. And it's okay if we have different views on that. But this is my life. So if you think it's condescending, you're just going to have to deal with it. Generally, that's pretty much what it is. I don't think that our country will prosper under Trump. No, I never said that it would. So you're disagreeing with something that I didn't say. That's what we call a non sequitur. You're challenging something that I never even said. Or it's a straw man argument. You're arguing against something that was never spoken. User 652, thank you. Digital Dawn said he climbed up in that trash truck like a champ. Yeah, he almost fell. I remember I saw that. All right, a couple more comments. So OG Goddess, finish the rest of the things that you were going to say. You said, it's my opinion. I never said you said it. Okay, then why are you bringing it up? You said you disagree with me. I said, what do you disagree with? And you said, I don't think the country will flourish under Trump. I never said that. So what's your point? I want to know what you disagree with. Thoughts on RFKJ? I'm going to do a whole lot on the MAHA movement and what I think about the medical industry and just health in America, period. Not necessarily what he specifically is going to do, because there's a lot of details to that. I can't go into every detail. For me to go into every detail on any subject, I would have to talk for like 3 days straight, or better yet, write a book. So I can only talk about what I choose to discuss on these, and I choose topics. I choose points. So we can't go into details on every single thing. So anytime I'm talking about any subject, like yesterday I was talking about education and people start trying to go into these details. And today I mentioned the medical system was not even a topic, and people trying to go into details. And you can't do that. You can't do it with every single subject. There's too many things to talk about. If y'all want the full context of anything, read a book. All right, you can't get it off a live stream or a fucking YouTube video. Read a book. You want the full context on any subject, you got to read the whole book on these subjects. Better yet, read 3 or 4 books so you get different perspectives on the same topic. If you really want to do that. I don't think most people want to do that. They just want to talk. Cheyenne said, what I think about the Department of Education. See the live that I did yesterday. You can find it on YouTube. Cheyenne on YouTube. My YouTube is, just look up my name, Dre Baldwin. I did a whole live on Department of Education yesterday. Chanel said, are you going to work today, or is this your TikTok live outfit? LOL. That's a kind of funny comment. Kind of funny. I just like this every day, Monday through Friday at least, whether I was doing TikTok or not. I'm at work right now. This is part of my work. As you see, I got your attention, right? And TikTok wouldn't like it. Yeah. Forever said we won't flourish under Trump. You should hope that we do. There's an interesting thing that people say that when the candidate that they don't like wins and they're like, well, we're not going to flourish. I don't care who wins. I want us to flourish. If a Republican wins, I want the country to do great. If a Democrat wins, I want the country to do great. I live here. Why would you want the country to fail? Cut off your nose to spite your face? Why would you do that? Trey said, what do you do for a living? Well, I have a company called Work on Your Game. What we do is we work with entrepreneurs, sales teams, professionals, and ambitious people to help them perform at a higher level, do so consistently, and produce more results. And there are several different methods we use for doing that: coaching, consulting, speaking, group coaching programs, books, our university called Work on Your Game University. You can find out more about it by going to the link in my bio. Trey, hopefully that answers your question. AU says 50 to 100 books a year. Yes. And with audio books, you can consume them very quickly. Melanie said, we all have a self-responsibility of flourishing. Yes. And I want the country to flourish, because if the country's flourishing, here's what happens, Melanie. Everybody else feels better. Everyone's more positive, and everybody has money. I want as many people as possible to have money so that I can sell them stuff. All right. So there's my grifts right there. All right. So I can sell things. I want people to have money. I want everybody to have money. The more people have money, the better it is for a salesperson. All of you are in sales. So you want people to have money. You want the whole country to do good. I want Democrats to have money. I want Republicans to have money. I want people who don't vote to have money. I want Christians to have money. I want Jewish people to have money. I want black people to have money. I want white people to have money. I want everybody to have as much money as possible so that I can sell as many things as possible. That's going to help me have money. All right, that's my mindset. I want everybody to do good. I don't care who the president is. So all of you predicting doomsday because Trump became president, what are you doing? All right, if it's doomsday and your job and your company goes out of business that you work for, what you going to do? Now you ain't got a job because the country didn't flourish under Trump. What are you doing? You're hoping that the country does bad just because you're mad about Trump? I would suggest you change your mindset about that. Someone said I skipped over their comment. I skip over a lot of comments. I can't read all of them. I just pick and choose a few of them. Nicole said people are weird as hell. Yes, I agree. I used the basketball drills back in the day. Gooby hoops, that's what's up. Age of Aquarius. I'm actually an Aquarius. I don't know if you knew that. So shout out to the Aquarians out there. Anybody Aquarius in here? Shout out to the Aquarians. Our birthdays are coming up in a couple months. All right, so we're going to wrap this up, everybody. I'll do these lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. Thank you for Brittany, my moderator, who is watching the comments in here. So Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern is when I do these lives. I usually go about 90 minutes. Sometimes I go 2 hours like I did here today. I started a little bit late today. Usually about some current event. So I'm going to tell you some of the topics we have on deck that I didn't get to yet. We might talk about the police and immunity. I might talk about that, might not. I don't know if I have that much to say about it. We're going to go talking about the left, too. We haven't talked about them that much over the last week. I've been really talking about Trump and his stuff because he's in the news. But we're going to talk about the left, some things that they should learn moving forward. We'll talk more about Trump, of course. Why? Because talking about Trump draws attention. All right, so everyone know why I'm talking about Trump, because it gets attention. When I talk about Trump, everybody has something to say. Everybody has an opinion on Trump. That's why I use his name. I use his name to get attention. This is an attention business. So any of you was wondering if I'm doing that on purpose, yes. We are going to talk about Project 2025. I got a whole bunch of stuff on that. We're going to talk about this Make America Healthy Again. Those are probably the next ones. So I might do Project 2025, Make America Healthy Again. I might do those the next 2 days this week. That's probably what we got coming up. I don't know which one I'm going to do first. Which one should I do first? Which one should I do tomorrow? That's my last question for everybody. Tomorrow, should I do Project 2025 or which one should I do? Just put it in the comments which one you want me to do tomorrow. Whichever one I see gets the most, that's the one I'll do. I'm going to check YouTube comments while I'm waiting for that. Snuggles said, do you think school has failed because people's ability to comprehend was actually being said seems to be void of understanding? No, I don't think that's why. I think school is a failing system simply because it's doing more indoctrinating than it's doing actually educating. I talked about that yesterday. Snuggles watched my live from yesterday. And he asked, what's the difference between education and indoctrination? Why do people mistake them? I talked about that yesterday. So you asked the two questions I just did yesterday. O-Dog said Jesus got found guilty. Exactly. So they took Jesus to court and found him guilty. So does that mean anyone found guilty is that's absolutely wrong? No. We got to take it on a case-by-case basis. Snuggle says, can you explain the importance of comprehension and what the lack of it might create in society? You asked me very broad questions that have nothing to do with the topic I'm talking about here, Snuggles. I suggest you check my back catalog because I got a whole lot of it. So let me see what we got, what people want me to talk about tomorrow, because I asked, should we do Maha or Project 25? So Brittany said Project 2025 one. All right, there it is. It's settled. And Dapper, I see you over there, said Maha. So don't worry. Tomorrow is, what's today? Today's Tuesday, right? Yes, today's Tuesday. So Wednesday is Project 2025. Thursday is Make America Healthy Again. And Friday, TBD. That means to be determined. We'll see what happens in the news between now and then. But guarantee it'll be something that it'll be clickbaity enough that you're going to click on it and listen to what I have to say. So if y'all wondering if I'm using MAGA and Trump's name as clickbait to get you to come watch these lives, the answer is yes. Yes, I'm clickbaiting you, and I'm not actually clickbaiting you because I actually am talking about him. So clickbait would be if I just said I was talking about one thing and didn't talk about it at all. That's not actually clickbait. I'm just kind of being facetious. But I talk about current events because this gets more attention when I talk about evergreen stuff. Just to tell y'all a couple last things. I have a show that comes out every day. It's called Work on Your Game. You can find it on Apple and Spotify. It's what you call a podcast. I call my show a masterclass. Most of my material, just so y'all understand, most of my material is not current events. I don't usually talk about current events except in my live streams and on X. So if you want to hear me talk about current events, catch these lives, watch the replays on YouTube, and follow me on X. My X name is Dre All Day. Brittany, can you put that in the comment? Dre All Day is my X name. That's where I do my current event talk. This live and on X. Everywhere else, and even the stuff you see on my clips sometimes I clip out this stuff, but often is about evergreen stuff like business, personal development, entrepreneurship, mindset, personal growth. That's my home base. That's my foundation. Current events I like talking about because I found that my perspective is a little bit different than most people, or at least the way I talk about it. Maybe not everybody agrees, but that's why I like talking about current events on these lives. But usually my general content is more evergreen stuff, which means it's not based on what's happening today. Mindset, entrepreneurship, personal growth, professional growth, getting better, success, advancement, all that stuff that people want. That's what I talk about on my podcast. So if y'all want to hear that, go listen to it. Again, it's called Work on Your Game. Find it on Apple and Spotify. It comes out every single day. Is about 20 to 30 minutes per episode. So it's not 2 hours like this. 20, 30 minutes is just me talking. I don't interview anybody. It's just me. 20, 30 minutes per day. Let me give you some examples just so y'all know what I talk about on my show. Just so y'all know what kind of guy I am and what I generally talk about when I can talk about anything. So it looks like this. This is on Apple Podcasts. And my last episode, my last few. So I talked about the 80-20 rule, how it applies to people. I did a 6-part series on how winners think. It's a 6-part series. That was 6 straight episodes. Then I talked about logical fallacies. So right now I'm in the middle of a 4-part series on logical fallacies. That part 2 came out today. Tomorrow's part 3. And then Thursday will be part 4. That's the kind of stuff I talk about on my show. To give you more examples of other things that I talk about. I talk about the 48-hour experiment, why people's communication sucks. I did an episode in 2021 right here. Is Dre liberal or conservative? So any of you want to know, am I liberal or conservative? I did a whole episode on this 3 years ago. Okay, so this is not new. Any of you who just found out about me this month, this ain't new. I've been talking about this stuff forever. Again, I don't always talk about current events. That's not really a current event topic. The 3 keys to instant change, how to build a brand framework, why people born between 1970 and 1990 are the best humans alive. All right, and some of these are tongue in cheek. The worst traits of feminized men. Again, these are from 3 years ago, so these are not new. Judge the point, not the person. That's another one that some of you can learn from. Let me give you a couple more. The best ways to help someone is to let them do the work. Look where you want to go. Discipline versus willpower. Why people don't change. How to stop giving yourself excuses. How to achieve more by doing less. How to be a high agency person. How to have forced optimism. How to get started. If it's not producing results, don't do it. Your number one focus for this year. How to accept yourself versus changing yourself. How to believe it can be done. How much fight do you have? The tools of persistence. Y'all got the idea? All right, this is the kind of stuff that I talk about every day. That's my everyday stuff. This is my business stuff. My business is about this kind of stuff. Okay, so when I write books, when I do speaking gigs, when I do coaching and consulting, is about this kind of stuff, not this stuff, not Donald Trump and MAGA and all that. But I'm willing to talk about anything. So everybody got it? Everybody got the idea? All right, where I'm at, where I'm coming from, and what I'm about? I hope you all understand that. So again, you want the current event talk, go follow me on X and watch these lives that come out 8 o'clock every morning. We already went 2 hours. Let me not take any more of you all's day. Go do some work. Go work on your game. Go do something prosperous and that's going to help you grow and help your family and help yourself. Thank you, Brittany, for moderating. And we will see you all tomorrow, 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern. We out of here. Work on your game.